Since I lost y'all, there we go. Now I'm live. Now we're live. We're rolling. Live. Now we're live. We're rolling. All right. Oh, I know why I don't have the brightness. Because my phone's below 50%. So it took away my brightness. There we go. Fix that. Right about now. All right. Hey, now we got our brightness. And now it's going to be stupid with me. Okay. There we go. We like that manual brightness modulator here. I can keep it like this. We can dial it back a little bit. There we go. Hey, guys. Clock's rolling. I ended the last live stream because it got stuck on stupid and couldn't keep me going. Couldn't keep me connected. So we had to start a whole new one. We're gonna let this go and see if anybody wants to jump back in. I don't imagine Dean joining us again. What? He's back. Speak of the devil. Welcome back. I was just saying, I didn't think I'd see you back. Welcome back. I didn't realize that my live stream before was getting hung up on stupid. And I was just talking away. And finally I'm like, man, it ain't working. So we had to do a whole new one. Okay, man, we'll pick up on the story here. Let's just hope this doesn't take a crap. And I got to get a drink real quick. So let me get out of here. All right. So I am so much covered right now that I feel like my feet are sweaty. That's how warm I am. That's a good thing, right? Oh, crap. I think my water's up front. That is not what I want. I do not want to be crawling back up to the front. Oh, crap. Yeah, so I got to go up front to get my water. Hold on a sec. We're going to park this right here. There we go. Sorry about that. Just trying to get my phone situated. I think when the charging cable gets disconnected, it disconnects my live stream. So I got to be careful. It might do it one more time yet, but I got to go get me some water. Hold on. It's going to be a sec. I am not trying to lose this body heat that I've activated. It's taking me a while. So give me 1 second. Ugh. Hold on. We're still trying to get this phone to not disconnect. It's being a bugger. Okay, stay. Be right back. Grab my water. Oh, shoot. Okay. We got the water, but it's not the water I was looking for. But it will do. I was about to say, I'd be mad at myself if I had water back here the whole time. But I didn't, so we're good. We're good. All right, we're back. I might just have to turn this way, leave the camera right here. All right, so I can drink this and talk about my story time. We got Loving Dean, the God Machine. Sorry, that's the name that's stuck in my head. So, crap just fell. There we go. I'm curious as to how or why you changed your name, but I know you didn't show up to talk about you. So I don't want to put you on the spot for that. Yeah, I'm back in the bourbon, bud. So you can see the lines on my window here. So I'm urban camping, we'll call it. That's all because I broke down. So camp wherever you're broke down, bud. That's how this works. Needed some water in my life. Couple good tips though, if you ever do get broken down in a situation where you are stuck without power or heat or something like that, you know, and all you've got is you, make sure you stay hydrated. That's number one. Well, warm too, and oxygenated. You will die without oxygen before the water, and you'll die without warmth before the water too. But that's the obvious. We already know we got to stay warm. Stay hydrated. Even in the winter, you can become dehydrated. But just play it right. There's moments where it's like, I also want to conserve my energy. I'm not trying to waste energy. Being out in the cold wastes energy. It takes like 6 times as much energy to stay warm when you're shivering as it does when you're not shivering. So I spent since October acclimating myself to the cold, coupled with, what happened here? I got comments down here. We got to meet up this season for some mushroom hunting. Yes, we do. Maybe I should switch my name back. It seems everyone remembers the other name. I do remember the other name better, but it's just because that's all I knew you as for so long. I can get used to a new name, though. Weird. For some reason, it left the O off your name. Unless there's 2 organic machine Deans, and one of them forgot the O. It's weird. It left the O off. The second comment on my phone here. I don't know if you have it that way, too. But anyway, Organic Machine Dean 333. The names always intrigue me, like origin stories of the names. That's always fun for me. Like, I have an origin story for my name. It's not just because I was, lame and didn't have a good name to come up with, so I just went with Mr. Jeff. There was layers to that name, right? And that name goes back 20 plus years, way before mushrooms. So I've got stories, and that's what I want to get into. I want to start doing this question, who is Mr. Jeff, is not a one video and done. And even though I wanted to kind of get into it more on the first video, it ended, so I started part 2 here. But we're going to have part 3, 4. This is going to be ongoing. So if I jump on randomly and do a who is Mr. Jeff, it's kind of a mixed bag of me just wanting to interact with y'all impromptu, share you some insights into who I am, give you a little bit of the backstory, little history. And it is going to be patchwork because that's the nature of this. Like, I don't come at things chronologically or in a systematic order. I skip over to this point and then I'm jumping over here and then, a mushroom, right? That's how we do this. So you've already heard that I've been to Texas twice. I was there as a teenager, was there again as an adult. You've heard I've been to PA twice, once in college and once now. And you know, I'm from Michigan, so you see how I bounce my stories and locations around, but this is fun. It gives you, the audience, and you, in this case, Dean, a chance to kind of put these pieces together in your mind and paint a picture through little glimpses here and glimpses there. And I hope that creates a little bit of a fun mystique to this whole story. The Who is Mr. Jeff. Hold on one second. I got to make sure my feet are tucked. Man, we are not losing what I already established with the warmth for my heat. I can tell you that much. Man, my feet were doing so good. And they still are. So we ain't losing. By the way, in the wintertime, when you're doing something like urban camping or even rural camping out in the middle of nowhere in the woods, let me break this down for y'all. As far as survival, cold temp survival, got to have our oxygen. Got to stay warm. First things first is get your ass out of the wind. That's number one. Wind will kill you in the cold. It'll just rip that body heat off of you. You are the heat maker. You produce heat. The wind will rob it from you fast as you can blink. So get out of the wind. That's number one. Once you're out of the wind, try to establish a pocket, we'll call it. Establish yourself a pocket where you can trap your own heat. If you can trap your own heat, you're going to be all right. But that might be, similar to like how the deer stay warm. They can huddle down in a little brushy area. They can create windbreaks and hunker down and cuddle together, right? Don't forget to secure your sanity. That's gone. That's gone with the wind. I told you, watch out for that wind. Well, the wind took my sanity, I think. No. Hey, as I go through who I am and what I'm about, and you discover more about me, you'll discover where the bits and pieces of my sanity have left me at times in my life. I look forward to sharing this with you guys, but I definitely can't tell it in one sitting. Might have to write a book. But yeah, staying warm. Find a spot where you're out of the wind and find a way where you can trap your body heat. Layers. So I'm very thankful. I'm super thankful that this Suburban is my windbreak. I even have, and this may seem counterintuitive, but I have a slight crack on two of my windows. I'm talking like a 1/4 inch. So this is not trapping my warmth in the whole thing, but I'm not trying to keep the whole truck warm. That would be so crazy. To distribute my body heat across this whole cubic footage of my inside of my truck would not be enough for me to stay warm. So I confine my body heat within the space of only a few cubic feet, basically like a coffin. I've wrapped myself up. I've got myself positioned. By the way, for those that don't know, you go on my Instagram way back, early photos of my Instagram when I went on my Pennsylvania tour, 2021. I have a picture of the back of my truck. Pretty sure I do anyway. Now I'm second guessing myself, but I'm pretty sure I got a picture where I show the inside of my truck. I've got a bed in the back, closet up here, you know what I'm saying? The windows tinted and everything. So it's already designed for me to sleep in here. I've been in this truck since 2019, like I said. So this is old hat. I spent 2020 in hotel rooms mostly, but there was a few nights I was in my truck. Winter 2021 in my truck. That's when I was in Central PA. That summer I went on my tour, but that winter I was back home working in my truck. 2022, winter 2022, in my truck. Probably wondering, what the heck am I doing in my truck every winter? What's the key to survival? Oh, keeping your sanity. Yeah, it definitely is. Shoot. Everything from mirages in a desert to that hypothermic psychosis. All sorts of ways you can lose your sanity as you reach the end of your life, we'll say. Whether it's dehydration, hypothermia. You get into these transcendental states when you get close to death, I believe. But yeah, keep your sanity. Definitely have a strategy and a game plan. You can't just expect some of this stuff to just turn out. But above any strategy is a faith and an understanding that you can, to quote frickin' Outcast, what did they say in their song? You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. So yes, plan, but also know that the universe is going to have its way. It's going to do its thing. And sometimes that thing might not be what you necessarily planned for. So plan for the unexpected too. Also, always be prepared to improvise when in a survival situation, for sure. But a lot of the MacGyvering, it comes with the thousands of mini experiences that came before this one. And that's kind of what I was talking about with the movie Signs, is that life, even though it throws us these curveballs, it had us go through curveball training to get us here. Like, I made it this far and I'm going to make it till I die. So nothing, it's like nothing's going to catch me, because I have been brought to this point, and that point is the now, and we're always in the now. There is no future point I'm going to arrive at. I'm always here. And being that I'm always here, I'm always going to be ready to be here. Nothing's going to take me out of here until it's my time to go. And once it's my time to go, I'm good. That's right. So worry is like, I don't believe they share the same etymology or the same word origin story, but worry and worst, or worry and worse, they start with WOR. So it's easy for me to correlate them in my brain. But worrying is the worst thing to do. Just remember that worry is the worst, because worrying is only shitting on the problem even more, if it's even a problem. You see, when you call it or label it a problem, you're already putting on it that vibe. You're giving it the problem vibe. When what if it's actually merely a teacher or an opportunity in disguise? You see, if you can see past the disguises, you see that everything is a teacher. Everything is an opportunity. But you don't get there. You don't get to that mindset. You don't get to that space and place in your mind where you can perceive things through those windows, right? I see that as an opportunity, or that as a teacher, or this or that. You don't get there until you've probably been through a lot of smaller shits that you didn't recognize as teachers and opportunities. So, is it just me and you still? We got one other person here. If you remember, thumbs up is how I take attendance. I know you've been here if you leave me the like. Click that like. We have an anonymous person with us. Welcome aboard. I'm just chatting here with Dean. He's been a loyal follower for a while. Welcome to whoever else joins us. But we're talking about my life. I'm musing about life in general. We're out here urban camping due to a breakdown I had in the Beast. the Suburban, the Rolling Thunder that it is, well, the lightning crashed. So I'm kind of broke down and stuck. If you want to send a donation to the brother, I got my PayPal in the description. You can PayPal me. But this was not me handing or asking for a handout, because I've been rolling like this for 4 years and haven't asked for a single PayPal. And those that know, because I know that it's always going to work out. It always has. And I do have a job, and I'll go to work tomorrow. And I'll be walking to work because this thing's broke down. But we were talking strategy here a few minutes ago, right, Dean? And the strategy that I have in front of me right now, with what, like, as soon as I found out that I wasn't going to be able to start my truck up until it thaws, and even then, once it thaws, we're going to find out if it starts. Hope so. But if it don't, I've already sat down and figured out, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario outside of, well, I don't even want to say dying, because dying to me is not a worst case scenario. But worst case scenario within this scenario is that my truck just took a complete crap and it's not going to drive again. That to me would be like the WCS, this scenario. And I don't even see that as like an ass kicker. That's not a death knell. All that would mean is I would just have to go back to work, continue doing what I've been doing, which is trying to save and scratch for every dime. We keep in this low budget, right? So let's work, make money, save the money, and put the money toward the next project, next adventure. Well, as it's been in the past months and years, a lot of the extra funds has been put towards me traveling, mushroom hunting, and doing these things. Well, in this case, the adventure is putting that money toward rehabilitation, truck rehabilitation. Consider it, I don't know, maybe this is a crazy analogy, but if you're a football player playing in the league, right? And you're doing your thing, and you've purpose every day is to become a better player for your team. So you study, you go through the workouts and the drills, you put in the time, and then you have a season-ending injury, right? Shout out Aiden Hutchinson. Season-ending injury while you're on course to become possibly the defensive player of the year, and then you break 2 bones in your leg. Crushing, devastating, but not soul-ending. You go through the rehab. You put in the time. You were already putting in the time. It's just shifting where it's focused. But all we have is the time, because time is an illusion. All you have is now. And if you're doing what you're supposed to do now, with the resources you have, limited as they may be for me, you just do the thing, and there's no complaints, no worries. I ain't got no worries. I actually feel bad. I mean, this might sound arrogant, so I say this with some kind of caution to myself here, but I kind of feel pity. I feel bad for people that don't have that mindset. I don't care what walk of life you are. I don't care how much money you got in your bank account. I don't care what job you work. I don't care who you have as a partner in life. I don't care what you have as a family. If you have a poor mindset, if you have a mindset of scarcity, a mindset that nothing's working out for you, that you're the victim to your circumstances, I feel bad for you. I tell people, and I've got people I know, people I work with, and people I see regularly, and they say, man, I'm sorry for you, or I feel bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, don't feel bad for me. Dude, I'm in the driver's seat. For once in my life, I'm in the driver's seat. See, here, Dean, you get to get a little story time now. We're going back to the who is Mr. Jeff question. A lot of people don't know this, but Mr. Jeff came from a staunch religious background, one that was very controlling, cultish. I call it a cult. Some don't. Depends on how you define the word cult, right? A cult. I define the word cult as, well, culture is a cult, right? You know what a cult is when you try to go against the cult, you feel it. That's how you know you're in a cult. Try to go against it. Try to do something opposite or something counter what it does. And I bucked a system that I was in. I was in a fundamentalist Baptist religion for 20 years of my life. Had a family and everything. Yeah, I'm reading your comment, Dean, here. Terrence McKenna. Man, I almost wrote a Terrence McKenna quote on the side of my truck regarding what you're saying there. I was about to do that, and we got the snowstorm. I'm not kidding you. This was over the weekend, and I was like, dang, we're getting snow. I don't want to put this on there and have it wiped off immediately because this is meaningful to me. Both Terrence McKenna and Krishnamurti, whatever his name is, I might be saying his name wrong, but both of those guys, I've been reading them lately. And it's good encouragement. I'm human, right? I say, don't worry. The reason I'm able to not have worries is because I constantly study. I'm constantly in meditation and practice of not worrying. It doesn't just come because I said I don't want to worry. It takes practice, but it also takes lots of going through things to teach us things and to show us that what did I have to worry about? So what was I saying? We were talking about who is Mr. Jeff, and I was going to go into something, and I forgot. So if you remember, go ahead and shoot me that comment too. Oh, we know Alan Watts. We know Alan Watts well. I resonate with Alan Watts quite a bit for the simple fact that he was a minister, as I was, and he found his faith in God outside of his ministry, outside of his church and beliefs in a similar way as I have. You see, I believe in God, but I don't wear it religiously, like in the sense that, like, I'm not trying to advertise in that way. I believe my practice is my advertisement, but it's not necessarily for me to advertise my religion as much as it is for me to share the good news. And that good news was that, hey, we are all sons of God. What do we have to worry about? That's good news. I don't claim to be Christian. I can say that now. Here, let me get back on your comments here. Oh, and when I say I don't claim to be Christian, I say that with an asterisk because I believe American Christianity is so far removed from its original, what the original followers of Jesus were about. Jesus said, if any man is to be my disciple or my student, he must take up his cross and follow me. That's foundational to me, to be a follower of Jesus. But we're getting into another side topic here. And I went to seminary and studied all this stuff. I've memorized hundreds of passages, and like it's not that I'm throwing that out. Whoops. Dropped my phone there. It's not that I'm throwing all that stuff that I learned out. I just reprocessed it and understand it in a different frame. And I think it's a beautiful frame now. So I can go and read the Bible and read the words of Jesus and read the words of Paul. And they still resonate, but they resonate in a different way to me now. They don't mean the same thing anymore. Shoot, let me get back on your comments here. Okay. Yeah, I know Alan Watts. took me a while to learn the practice of not worrying. It's it's almost like you've heard some of the cliches and the phrases where people say, I asked God for patience, so he did this, or I asked God for faith and he made me do this. And in a sense, it's kind of true for me. I wanted a deeper, richer faith when I was in the Christian world. I know that those that know me from that world, from the past, I mean, I feel like they would think, yeah, he was sincere. I mean, as anybody, I had my issues. I wasn't perfect, but I definitely believed, like I held those beliefs as if they were true and they were important to me. I mean, that's the reason why I still believe today. Sorry, my feet are coming out. We can't lose that. Oh, and by the way, bare feet. Keep your feet bare feet in the cold in a situation like this, because it's allowing my feet to stay warm better. If they're bundled up tightly, wrapped tightly, I can't create a warm airspace for them to stay warm in. So if you feel like you're in a situation trying to stay warm with no external source of heat, and you feel your feet getting clammy and cold, and they're covered up tightly, wrapped in socks or shoes, get them out of socks and shoes, wrap them up together, bundle your feet together. Just in a similar fashion of how mittens work better to keep your fingers warm than gloves, because your fingers are bundled together in a pocket. And a looser pocket with a better air cavity can keep them warmer better. But if your feet are already frozen, they ain't going to just generate heat out of nowhere instantly, especially if you have poor circulation in your feet. So you may have to do other techniques, like one thing I can do is I'll slide my pant legs up to my knees, exposing my calves, and my calves will be toasty warm, and then I can slide one foot under a calf, and I can switch up and put the other foot under a calf and get the other one warmed up. So there's ways, right? You just got to be a little clever about things. But right now, my legs are warm. But they were starting to peek out because I could feel a little breeze or some kind of draft. So we had to bury them again. Bury them. I know one day they're going to bury him. Better lock my casket tight, baby, so I don't let the devil in. Lil Wayne. All right. There we go. All right, we nice and toasty now again. Let me get back in the comment section. Dean, I know I'm doing most of the talking here because it's my live stream, but I like the fact that you're interacting and bouncing stuff off me here and stuff. Gives me stuff to talk about, so thank you. And just for the record, I'm going to keep this live stream rolling. I might stay up past midnight. I don't care. We ain't in any hurry. If you have to dip out, I completely understand. But maybe I'll get someone from India to jump in my live feed. All right, anyway. What were we saying here? Same here, Mr. Jeff. I love religions, especially to study them, but I don't put myself in a box of any one religion. I like side topics, no problem. All right. And I see you wrote, science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. Albert Einstein. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen that quote. And I consider myself a sciencey guy. I love the scientific process, but I understand the scientific process is never going to reach full truth. It's a pendulum swinging, in a sense, to give it a poor analogy. But imagine a pendulum swinging, constantly getting closer to center, but it'll never quite reach it because you're dealing with fallible humans, we view this reality through a pinhole. To quote somebody, I didn't make that up, but we're viewing reality through a pinhole of our senses: sight, sound, touch, taste. Did I miss one? Smell. And other forms of perception that this body affords us, this vessel, right? But reality is way beyond what we perceive. And I can easily show this to you by the fact that the electromagnetic spectrum that we perceive photons with our eyeballs, light, we only see a tiny, I think we see 1/1,000,000th of the whole spectrum. 1/1,000,000th. I can't even fathom how little we see of it. And that's what we perceive. But if we could see radio waves flying around us in every which way and direction and perceive them with some sort of, for lack of a better word, color. We limit color to, Roy G. Biv. But what would you call it if you could see infrared like certain animals can? Would you call it sight? Or would you have maybe another organ completely dedicated to perceiving infrared like snakes? Or like certain insects like bees and stuff that can perceive ultraviolet. I believe they're perceiving ultraviolet with their eyes, so that would be sight proper. But what if we had like an organ or certain massive tissue in our body that its sole job was to perceive radio waves? Like, that would be weird, because then you'd be able to tune into like your favorite station. Maybe, but you'd probably be catching all kinds of static and stuff too, because radio waves come from space, not just radio towers. Or what about X-rays, gamma rays? Like, the sun is spitting out photons of all sorts, and we only get to see the certain ones in that visible little sliver of the spectrum. So my whole point is, we are missing out on what really is going on around us, and that's just from the photon side of things. You can only hear within a certain bandwidth, a frequency. What is it, between like 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz? I don't know. But there's animals that hear beyond that. And there are certainly sounds beyond even what any animal or any life form can hear. Can you imagine the sounds and the rumbles that might come from like a supernova that would be so beyond any frequency that we would even be able to perceive? But that's what I'm saying, is there's this reality that we are immersed in, this universe we're immersed in. We're only experiencing just a sliver of it. And how did I get on this tangent? I don't know. We were talking about Albert Einstein. Oh, science. And how the pendulum's swinging. And it's like we'll never truly perceive and understand this reality. We can't. We don't have the instrumentation. We don't have the biology. We're the resources. We're just not going to get everything this universe is. And the audacity of somebody in the science world to think that they got it figured out. They just don't understand the fundamentals of science. Science is human observation and repetition and reporting of this data and repeating of that data. Sorry, missing some comments here, aren't I? We can only perceive the tiniest part of the spectrum, true or false. That's true. We only perceive that little bandwidth between, when I say perceive biologically, we only perceive a little bandwidth. You actually perceive infrared with your skin. You feel the heat from the sun. You can feel radiant heat, infrared radiation. And in a similar fashion, you getting a tan is your body perceiving the ultraviolet and reacting to it. But that's not like perceiving in the sense of direct sight. And I think that's what you're referring to. But yeah, there's so much more beyond that our perception of it, conscious, is not there. Subconsciously or through the body, we may be perceiving, but through our consciousness, no, we don't even know. What is the third eye also that has light receptors on it, but it's inside our head? Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Man, go check out my video on melanin and how I feel like we, just like certain fungi and certain molds, can photosynthesize using radiation. I'm wondering if we, using melanin, are not photosynthesizing certain bandwidths for energy. Not that we're like plants completely, right? The process of photosynthesis proper, plant photosynthesis, uses chlorophyll. So it's only capturing that particular bandwidth and using that. The bandwidth, I think, would be, shoot. It's not capturing green because we see green. Green is reflecting back, but it's capturing the non-green light. So, but in the sense of black, like melanin, like black molds, they're capturing a vast array of photons that's spanning a wider band than plants are. So their photosynthetic capabilities are over a broader range, but whether they are as potent or powerful in capturing the energy or converting it to use as energy, I don't know. I feel like plants got that mastered. But once again, this is human, our fallible understanding, our limited understandings, and we're constantly understanding more and more about how life on Earth functions. So that's my whole point, is science don't know. We're kindergartners at best, trying to figure out stuff. We don't have a clue. So that's why it's amusing when the science community acts like they know. We don't know. And that's why it's also fun for me to at least entertain other ideas, both scientific and maybe pseudoscientific. I hate to use the word pseudoscientific, but that's the language they use when they're speaking of stuff like humans photosynthesizing using melanin. That's pseudoscience, they say. But is it? It's pseudoscience to our understanding, sure. But just because something claims to be scientific doesn't mean it's accurate or true. Because I'll give an example here. Let me see if I can figure one out. It was science that told us that free radicals are harmful to our bodies. These reactive oxygen species and reactive nitrogen species, aka free radicals, are causing havoc, and they're the main cause of disease in the body. That was kind of the scientific notion of like my childhood. And it really didn't reach the medical world proper, where it was being used in practice, until, I mean, even now it's kind of the thing. You hear people talk about free radicals and antioxidants, right? I speak of it on my channel. I talk about it in some of my videos, antioxidant properties. And I'm not lying. Some of the compounds in these mushrooms are antioxidant. But to bridge the gap from antioxidants in foods and in our diet to that's the all and end all of health is it's false. It's straight up wrong. And here's why. Have you ever heard of nitric oxide? Nitric oxide, our body produces it in the endothelial linings of our blood vessels. It'll be released to help make our blood or to make the walls of our blood vessels like more elastic. It's a vasodilator. It's also a reactive nitrogen species. So technically, it's a free radical, but it's a free radical that our body uses. Our body's constantly using pro-oxidant and antioxidant species of molecules for reactions. It's part of the process. It's happening millions of times, billions of times through all of our cells, intracellularly and did I say intra? Intra and intercellularly. These chemical processes are creating reactive species. And that's part of the process. And they'll immediately, in many cases, be linked up to another losing its radicalness, losing its free radicalness. For example, a free methyl group would be a free radical. But that would bind to something. It would just be waiting for the next molecule to come by and attach to. An example I'm thinking of is betaine, found in beets. Betaine, aka trimethylglycine, is an amino acid that has 3 methyl groups on it. So it's a methyl donor. It donates methyl groups for reactions in our bodies. This is a good thing, because methylation is good for protecting our DNA. Methylation can be used in certain metabolic processes. Methylation is not necessarily a bad thing. So I consume beets daily because I like my current understanding of what betaine and what it does to my body. I appreciate it. But that's my current understanding based off of science, which I don't trust. Like, I don't trust science completely. I understand that it's where we are in our current understanding, but it may change. But we know that humans have been eating beets for thousands of years that we know of, with very little ill effects. And the greater consensus is that beets are good for you. Beets are good for you despite the fact that they help your body produce free radicals, because these free radicals are not bad in and of themselves. It has to be put into a context that science is discovering this. The further we go, science is getting closer to understanding, but even though we get closer, we're never going to be 100% knowing the truth, because we cannot 100% perceive this universe and all the reality that we're in. There, that was a long-winded response for something. I don't even know what for. Dean, I appreciate you hanging out, listening to me muse about science and religion, though. It's fun. Shoot, I'm reading comments here, too. Let me catch up with you here. I want to talk about the third eye. I got on a rabbit trail because I was talking about light and stuff and light receptors. But the third eye, aka the pineal gland, positioned inside our head. What if we're producing light internally? What if we are able to produce light inside our bodies? We're just not seeing it because we don't look inside ourselves, right? But we could be producing photons through chemical reactions, just like, I mean, we know that biology can produce light. You have bioluminescence. That exists. We already know that exists. We also know that the body, our body produces photons because they can detect it with photometers. They can pick up on the photons our body releases. Whether it's infrared heat that's kind of emitted, radiating from us, that's light. But it's coming from somewhere. It's not coming from the surface of our skin, I don't think. I think it's coming from inside. But I also think that there's light being produced inside cells that's being used in certain reactions. That photon release from an electron interacting with a molecule, releasing a photon here. Like, I think there's purposes going on that we just don't understand yet. And we might be generating light inside our brains. I mean, get this. Below the pineal gland is a region of the brain called the substantia nigra, aka black substance. It's loaded with melanin. And melanin has there's a correlation between melanin and dopamine. I believe because melanin is constructed of L-dopa molecules in a polymer to form melanin. Anyway, so you got this region of the brain that is the dopamine factory, the substantia nigra. People with Parkinson's disease have issues with this part of the brain because dopamine is also part of our muscular control. We operate our bodies thanks to dopamine, and when the dopamine's off, you get tremors and stuff, right? So what if we're producing light inside our brains, and the light, the photons we're producing, is interacting with the melanin? Like, why do we have melanin inside our brains? What's it protecting us from? If melanin is a UV protector, or, it's used to absorb photons, what photons is it absorbing inside the brain where no light from out here is penetrating and hitting? I mean, I'm asking these questions honestly. I'm not sure. I don't have the answer. Or is it picking up? I mean, it could be that you have light that passes through things. Gamma radiation can pass through lead if it's thin enough, right? It can pass through 8 feet of concrete, I think. That's light. There's light that can pass through your body. There's light that can enter your body and not make it out the other side, right? It can penetrate the skin, but it won't go much further. Think of X-rays as we move down the spectrum. X-rays, they get stopped by bones and certain denser materials, but they'll pass through thinner materials or weaker materials, right? And then we get into the UV, and UV has an ability, but not near as good as X-ray. Infrared, I think infrared can penetrate the skin to a certain degree. It can't go all the way through you, but I'm pretty sure it can enter you. You can feel the warmth, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm just kind of explaining out loud here how different bands of light have different penetrating abilities through different materials. So maybe the pineal gland is positioned this is 100% speculation. I've never read this anywhere. I don't know this as a fact or nothing. But what if it's possible that the pineal gland is positioned in such a depth in our bodies that it only receives a certain bandwidth that enters at that depth? Complete speculative. The human body is so complex that I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface of understanding it. And why things are located where. I think there's a reason why things are located where in our bodies. It's not just willy-nilly. It wasn't just accidental. But this is, once again, this is because I actually believe that we do live in a construct. This universe, I believe, is constructed by somebody, by something. And call it simulation theory. Call it whatever. I had to get back under the covers because I was losing my heat. But I still got some light here. Here, let me dip this light down a bit. There we go. All right, where are we in our chats here? I dove down that rabbit hole about free radicals and antioxidants a while back, since I grew up with a disease. Okay, so you probably understand then that free radicals and antioxidants, while there is some truth to what we understand, I think we don't have it all figured out. Because we understand that free radicals are a necessary component of many metabolic processes. So, and if they weren't, I don't think they're necessarily just waste, right? It's like they are used. Nitric oxide is my big example. It's my only example, but it's one. That's all I need is one. All right, let me read the next comments here. Health, aka efficient homeostasis. Hey, that's a good way of putting it. It is all about balance. Too much of even a good thing can throw off the balance or equilibrium. True that. And you're speaking to a guy who has his own imbalances. I know this because I'm addicted to caffeine. So, which is funny because in a situation like this where I'm hunkered down and don't have easy access. I mean, here's the thing. I've got some money in my bank account Not enough to get this truck fixed, but I got a little bit in there. I can go and get some caffeine if I need to. But I've dosed out my caffeine just to keep myself, good. Yeah, excuse me. I'm functioning on half the caffeine I normally am right now. But that's just because I'm being efficient. Same with food. I'm not wolfing down meals right now because I'm not trying to waste energy, both physical energy and financial energy in a situation. Right now, I'm in a mode where it's attack the next thing in front of me, which is getting this truck back up and running. All right, where are we on the comments here, though? I keep getting pulled off because of my thoughts. Isn't that where the whole aura thing comes from? Is that our body is releasing some sort of energy and it creates our aura? That's a good notion. Let me muse on that for a minute. So we do emit photons. I do think we do. I don't know how much I ascribe to like the current understanding of auras and the colors of them. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I do know it. I'm not trying to say they're wrong, those that speak of it. I'm just saying the science is not out there, I don't think. So therefore, I don't have any scientific basis. Once again, I don't worship science. I appreciate science. I value science, but I understand it's a human method. But I think, tell me what you think about this, Dean. I think our frequency, our own vibration, like that we're operating at, I think our thoughts are tuned into that. I think like a radio, like the radio in your vehicle, or you have one at home perhaps. You turn it on. You can physically adjust the dial and choose which station. It's like tuning your aura. But I don't think it's as easy to tune your aura as it is to tune your radio station. I think the aura may take time to manifest into something that is recognizable as what we call an aura. You know how, maybe I can compare it to like how you can have like, you can be in a mood, right? And then you also have a personality where one is deeper, richer, longer lasting. You can come in and out of different moods. Or even better might be emotion versus mood. You can have an emotion for a moment, but not be in that mood. But if you are in a mood for a longer period of time, that I feel like the aura would lend itself toward more of a longer duration versus just a quick emotion. Like, I don't see your aura necessarily being like a strobe light changing colors and frequencies constantly, but more, it may shift gradually as your mood shifts. And it may be hours or days or weeks. I don't know. I've not studied that, right? I've read little bits here and there. My understanding of it is kind of garbage. So take it for what it's worth. But that's my current feeling, is that our aura would be something that it's basically just showing anybody that could perceive our aura. We're just revealing to them how we've been for the past so long. It's more like just it's revealing. It's telling. For those that can perceive it, you're giving away your mood. Like a mood ring. But maybe mood rings are fast. They're instantaneous on how they change color with your body heat and stuff. Whereas your aura, I would imagine, shifts as you enter shifts of consciousness that are longer lasting. How's that? Once again, don't take my words. I'm musing here. I'm just kind of shooting the shit with you. That's my thoughts. Yes, the body is very complex. That's why That's why they have to have a doctor specialist for each tiny specific part of the body. Isn't that something? Right? Imagine somebody that could know all the different systems. But once again, this is my theory and my thoughts on our bodies and the systems in our bodies and the specialists needed is that we create the delineations. We divide and label. What I mean is, you have an endocrine system, you have a nervous system, you have a muscular system, you have a skeletal system, you have I'm missing one, or I'm missing a few, I'm sure, right? You have your circulatory system, you have your airway, your respiratory system. My brain's stuck for a second. But yeah, you got systems, reproductive systems. But we made that up. That's a human construct because the body doesn't delineate between these systems. They're all intertwined and they all interact. None is in a box independent of another system. So the system's way of viewing the body is kind of like it's handcuffed us. It's held us back from understanding our body and its working. Sorry, trying to get a little light on me here. There we go. So not that I'm knocking any specialist that spent years learning the brain, like a neurologist or a psychologist learning the psyche, or a podiatrist learning the foot. I'm not knocking any of these specialists. They've did the time. They've learned that the anatomy and the body and the ways of it, and it's all good. But like I talked about in that one video I did on was it on Parkinson's? It might have been the video I did on Parkinson's disease and seborrheic dermatitis, and the correlation is that when you have a specialist that all they're studying is the neurology and the Parkinson's disease, right? Or maybe they're specializing in Parkinson's disease. So they studied neurology, but they never did study dermatology, because what's that have to do with Parkinson's disease? And yet we're discovering in the science literature, they're showing correlations between certain dermatological issues like seborrheic dermatitis and Parkinson's disease. We would have never seen that correlation have we not stepped outside some of our systems boxes that we get ourselves in. So systems are good. I'm not knocking them. They're good in their right, but they also limit us. They can hold us back from having a greater understanding or finding correlations between things. So I'm not saying get rid of specialists, but I would suggest having generalists. Generalists can have have a spot in this whole mix too, because the generalist can see things that the specialist might not see. How's that? All right, where are we? Oh, last comment. Yes, I've heard this before, how the brain may just be like some kind of radio antenna. Yeah. Oh, we're talking about like how I mentioned the pineal gland. The pineal gland might be something in a similar way, perceiving a certain bandwidth or certain bandwidths. We don't even understand human thoughts. I mean, for the most part, I think most people think thoughts originate in their head. The brain is the originator of thoughts. But what if that's not the case at all? What if the brain is just that quote unquote radio receiving the thought signals as they pass in and out, all 70 plus thousand of them that we get in our heads each day? Like, what is it? Like James Woods from Family Guy. Ooh, a thought. Ooh, a thought. Ooh, a thought. I think it was candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, another thought. Ooh, another random thought. And that's how my brain is. I get all kinds of thoughts throughout the day. Thousands. I can't imagine they're all originating in my head. I actually think that many of them are sent. Whether they're sent directly beamed at me, I don't know about that, but you might enter a room or a space where that thought or that aura or that vibe, that energy is there, and you pick up on it and you perceive it as a actual thought that you have formulated words to. So that thought now has a language because you're a language being. But two people who speak two different languages could perceive the same thought in their head upon entering a vibe. And that vibe is beyond words. It's a frequency. It's a thought. There we go. That's my thought on that. Exactly. What if thoughts... No, sorry, I'm reading Dean here. Sorry, Dean, I'm kind of stupid of me to talk as if I've got an audience. You are literally the only person here, so I should just be directly speaking to you. But in case somebody does tune in or watches this after the fact, I want to delineate between my speak and yours. So I'm reading Dean here. Exactly. What if thoughts are just the channels of certain bandwidths we are tuning into on a frequency spectrum? Right. That's kind of exactly what I'm going at. And the different nuances of a thought, say, the thought in my head, and I tell you, I share the thought out loud and it's, 17 words long. The thought wasn't 17 words. The thought was just that. It was a thought. But I formulate the 17 words to give it some kind of language construct because, once again, we are language beings. It is in our nature to turn thoughts into language, which, by the way, things are lost in translation that way. As soon as you speak it into words, it no longer carries the exact weight of the initial thought. It's now been diminished, even ever so slightly. I mean, you could try to use great descriptive words. You can choose the best languages that afford the most details, and you're still not going to capture the full essence of the thought. Because I feel like language is like trying to solidify the ether. It's trying to take something that you can't and box it in to words. Even my words right now are just clanging cymbals. It's lacking. You ever been in the presence of somebody and not had to say words and it seemed like you communicated even better? We speak of vibes, right? That's what I'm talking about. I feel like words they can only take away. They can never really add to the thought. But in our limitedness, in our finiteness in these bodies, in these vessels, we've limited ourselves by lack of knowledge, by lack of understanding of these concepts. Like we forgot, we've gone ignorant as a species. I mean, look around us, animals, plants, fungi, bacteria, protists alike. They all have ways of communicating without words. And yet we had to go stupid on nature and say, nope, we need words. And if you can't bring the words, you're dumb. Literally, isn't that what the word dumb means? Is like no speech. So animals don't talk. But I've literally witnessed interspecies communication between different animals. You can tell they're communicating. And it's beautiful to know that they understand the thought language. And we're hung up on the word language. Not literally the word quote unquote language, but on a language of words versus a language of thoughts. We're hung up on needing words to be exactly right. And if they ain't exactly right, we get offended. Words have the power to destroy. And isn't it funny how simple words can hurt and harm off of a simple misunderstanding because they didn't get the thoughts clear. Sorry, let me get back to our communication here. Also, ever heard of how language can change and affect the thoughts? Maybe that's what I just said. I don't know if that's what we're talking about here. Hey, that goes into my next comment about how whatever language one uses affects how people think or the thoughts they have. Language is another rabbit hole we can go down. Sure it is, man. Linguistics, I'm fascinated by it. I think it's amazing, but that's because I've studied many languages. I studied my first additional language. Obviously English was first, but the first language I picked up after that would have been Spanish, right? No, let's go back. French. I think it was French in 7th grade, German in 8th grade, and then Spanish in 9th grade. I didn't become proficient in any of these languages. For me, I was just fascinated more so by the studying of the different languages and understanding how they were different. The syntax and the grammar and what leads to even how you perceive the world around you. As humans, you are boxed into the birth language you get or the birth languages that you get, and then you now have that as a window of perception. It's one more angle of perceiving things is now through this thing called language. Because if your culture and your language has words to express certain ideas, but it's lacking words to express other ideas, that's what I'm talking about. You are limited now. Like, I can imagine there might be tribes in the Amazon, right, that don't have words for snow or things like that. Because it's not in their world. They don't need a word for it if they've never seen it. But if they ever got introduced to it, which maybe now some have, they may have to formulate a word for that or adopt one from another language. English is king for doing that. And isn't that funny that when we do that, I'm not saying mixing languages is bad, but the English language is a double-edged sword. It's great for poetry. It's great for expression, but it also can cloud thoughts. It can mask ideas because you can hide things in words by borrowing words and transliterating things. And so I know Terence McKenna touches on language in some of his things, and he's probably taking different angles than I am here. I'm speaking specifically about like linguistics, which I think he gets more metaphysical about it than I am. But let me get back on your comments here. Language is another rabbit hole. I believe there's some sort of profound truth in, quote, first was the word, unquote. I believe there's some sort of profound truth. John 1:1, and then arche ein ha logos. In the beginning was the word. That's John 1:1 in Greek. In the beginning. What is it? I'm going to misquote it. Ein arche? Or no. Is it arche? Maybe it's just arche ein ha logos. In the beginning was the word, logos. I had the whole verse memorized. That's not the whole verse. It's arche ein ha logos. And the word was with God, and the word was God. Take that into consideration. John 1:1 in the New Testament, he says, you said first was the word. He says in the beginning was the word, or an arche ein ha logos. He says in the beginning was the word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. As if that's all there ever was the Word, the Logos. That's all it was. That word could be translated thought. The word Logos means thought, but it was translated word in the King James Version and in many English translations. Let me keep reading your quote or your comment here. Taken in an objective way, not in a religious way. Yeah, I'm taking it I'm trying to take it in a metaphysical way, in a sense. When I read John 1:1, or when I read John 1, I don't take it the way the Christians today speak of in American Christianity. Like they take John 1:1 and they want to combine it with John 1:14 in a way that they're claiming that the word is Jesus. Jesus, the guy from Nazareth, he's the word to them. But I see it as the word of God is the Holy Spirit, which is God, that's the one true spirit, is the word, is the Christ, the chrism, the anointing. The anointing is the word of God, is the Holy Spirit. They're all the same. John says that in the book of 1 John. But in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, he says in verse 14, the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld its glory as the glory of the only begotten Son of God. And they of course claim that to be Jesus, but I'm saying no. John was not speaking of his cousin Jesus, or and that was John the Baptist was his cousin. No, this John was his that was his beloved, the beloved disciple, John. But anyway, I think John was not speaking of Jesus when he was talking about Christ, or when he was talking about the Logos. Christ is the Logos, is the Holy Spirit, is not Jesus. Jesus was talking, he was teaching these things. There's a reason Jesus in John chapter 3, the famous verse, John 3:16. Who in their right minds gets up and talks about themselves in the third person in a sermon or in a speech publicly? Nobody. That's silly talk. But they claim they have to jump hoops to say that Jesus was speaking about himself when he said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Why would he talk about himself that way? Why wouldn't he just say, God gave you guys me? I'm here. God sent me. No, he said God sent Christ. For God sent his Son. Christ is the Son of God. The Logos is the Son of God. In the beginning was the Word, the Logos, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Son of God, the Christ, is God, is the Holy Spirit. This is who Jesus spoke of. This is what Jesus was filled with and what he was anointed with, I believe. But to say that Jesus, we call Jesus Christ like that's his last name. He was anointed. But that's not to say that there can't be a Jeff Christ or a Dean Christ. Because John chapter 1, he also said, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. We are all granted such power if we so choose. If we believe, we can all receive the Christ. We can all receive the Holy Spirit. We could all receive the Logos, the Word of God. And the reason it's called the Word of God is because it's not a word of language. It's not a word of text. It's not a... That's where I, am anathema, according to the church, to the Christians. They would cast me to Satan for saying this. But I don't believe the Bible is the Word of God. I believe the Word of God is beyond words of man. It's beyond the language of man. That's why it's called specifically the Word of God. It's Logos ou Theou. Sorry. I don't know if I was sharing any thoughts that anybody else has ever said before. Particularly, of course, I've studied Alan Watts and other philosophers, Terence McKenna and stuff, but I don't even think they've spoken on this per se. This is from my own understanding and my own studying that I've come to these conclusions. And that's why I can read the Bible under a new understanding that is refreshing. It's not imprisoning. It's not downtroddening. It's uplifting, because I see these concepts as hope giving, to know that, as Paul said, Christ in me, the hope of glory. I don't think he was talking about Jesus in him. So anyway, you're getting a side of me that I don't share. I don't give this stuff out to many folks because I know it's controversial, especially in America and what we claim to be a Christian nation. Yet it's funny because Jesus said in Matthew and in Luke, it's repeated. He said, there'll be many in that great time that'll say, Lord, Lord, haven't we done all these great things in your name? And haven't we cast out devils and done this and that? And they will hear, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. And not that I believe in a literal, burning fiery hell, but I think Jesus was painting a picture. He was making a object lesson here, painting a story. That all those that thought their whole time, their whole lives, they thought they were dedicating their lives to something, to Jesus or to God, and it was for naught. They missed the mark. They were mistaken in thinking that all these things. And when the Lord says, I never knew you. Because to know Christ is not to know Jesus. It's literally to know that the one true spirit. The one true spirit. Now I sound like I'm talking like a Native American, but I think it resembles more their philosophy than the American Christianity philosophy. That the one true spirit that embodies or indwells all things. And we are just not attuned to it until we become attuned to it. I feel like humanity in our matrix living has just been it's just a way of deceiving us and keeping us from understanding this truth. But when one comes to the truth of the Christ, of the Spirit, of the Logos, it's enlightening, it's awakening, but it can also be terrifying. And if you can imagine, I'm talking poor country bumpkins, outcasts of society, the dredges of society, fishermen, publicans, sinners, prostitutes. Society had already shunned them. They're pretty much just doing what they can, kind of in a cloak of an underworld of society. We have that today. There was a lot different back then, but there was a lot that was the same back then. They were ruled by the Roman Empire in Palestine, in that part of the world. So they had a governance. They had their social cultures, and with cultures comes the cult followings and mentalities. They had the religious cultures. We have that today. We have our political factions and our rulings. We have our religious factions and rulings. And you have a faction, for lack of a better word, of our outcasts, our overlooks of society, the people that are not, they don't fit in. And I think the more civilized society gets, the more it it kind of squeezes out these outcasts. It's natural because we've gotten away from tribal and family and gotten into a society that's so disconnected. We're not connected because of social media. We are disconnected because the people right next to you, you don't even know their name. It's weird. It's so wild to me. It's like once you catch a glimpse of this in your mind and you understand the world this way, you can't unsee it. And it's disheartening at times to recognize and to see that disconnect in the human culture around us. Now, I try to be a positive force when I can. I try to greet people with a happy Tuesday, a happy Wednesday, whatever day of the week it might be. I want to be a beacon of light and hope. But it's so weird because people look at me and they think, man, I need the hope. I need the help. They look at me as the case that needs the working on. And I'm like, man, you guys don't even understand. If you only knew the calamity that you sit in. And I'm not going around preaching against everybody's life and the civilizations they're in. I feel like everything is a teacher and an opportunities too. And folks may just be at that part of their life where it's not their time to be enlightened, or they don't understand yet. But who says enlightment is even a flip switch? Maybe it's 1,000 switches being flipped over time. Because I'm sure there will be things in my future that will enlighten me further than I am understanding and illuminated now. There's no end result to this, I don't think. I just perceive it as constantly growing. Whoops, there we go. I got bright. So as we constantly grow in this, though, I see a lot of folks who just don't have a light. And I want to be a little bit of that light bearer. I think that's the good news. I think sharing the good news, preaching the good news, the gospel to every creature is shining your light. It's going out there letting people know that, yeah, life's tough. But there's something greater than this life to look forward to. We can be mysterious. Jesus spoke in parables. He said, those that have an ear, let them hear. Most of his audience, most of the people that were listening, they didn't understand what he had to say. And the message got corrupted over time, and people perceived him as a threat. And then it shifted. Then this is my personal opinion, but I think the perception of him being a threat and then ultimately killed switched. Something happened when they realized, man, we can control these people. We can actually use this against them now. This man, this Jesus. Because us killing them only empowered them. It was like chopping a head off a Hydra times 1,000,000. We killed their Lord, their rabbi, their teacher. And now they're all empowered to go by force to make sure this message gets out, this secret message. It was always kept underground. And that's because it was a dangerous message. I think it was a message that if the world actually found out what this reality was made of, then the powers that be would dissolve. There would be no religious powers. There would be no political powers. And that's why Jesus was the threat to the religious and political powers of his day. And there are many Jesus. There were probably Jesuses before him and after him, to use lack of a better word, prophets. Jesus was a prophet, prophetess in the Greek, not to be confused with how we use the word prophet today. I think the word prophet back then would lend itself more to a definition probably fitting to like a shaman or yeah. And I'm only saying that because I think of the prophets in the Old Testament, like Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Amos, Obadiah, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, many of these guys. And even after the Old Testament writings, you had prophets continued even to John the Baptist. I think these prophets were men, and if there was any female ones, perhaps too, but I believe they had a calling inside them from that logos, from that voice, the thought, the spirit within them, called them from the normal society to something richer and greater inside them, something more meaningful within them, but not meaningful outside of them, because those outside of them would consider them crazy. You've lost your freaking minds. You're going to go live in the wilderness away from society and live off of bugs? But that's what some of them would do. Like John the Baptist, cloaked in camel hair and eating honey and locusts and preaching a message that the kingdom of God is at hand. These prophets would be considered crazy lunatics. Whoop, got my brightness going again. There we go. Sorry. I'm on such rabbit trails tonight talking about the Bible. But I definitely see the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament, under a totally different umbrella now. And it's like, I don't even recognize the Bible as like one book. Like the Christians claim Bible equals Word of God. I claim Bible is anthology, or even better yet, it's a library of 60 some books. But it depends on which Bible you use. Catholics have a different amount of books than the Protestants. But you got 40 plus different authors, over 1,500 different years time span from the first one wrote to the last one, over 3 continents, Africa, Asia, and Europe. The Bible is a beautiful piece of literary and historical work, but I don't think it's what they claim. Like, I don't claim it to be the Word of God. I claim the Word of God to be the Holy Spirit, to be the Logos. And the Bible speaks of this, in my opinion, right? Oh, shoot. Let me get in your comments here. You're probably way like 4 or 5 comments past me now. All right. What would life be without words or even some sort of language? Even animals have a language of their own. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we didn't have words, that's the thing. I think there is a greater language to use, because I don't have a better word than language. I'll make up a word. Something that is super language. It's above language. And it's, in a sense, it's vibrational. It's thoughts. It's energy and aura. It's that kind of, it's communicating through our body language and I guess body language. Don't they say body language is 90% of communication anyway? And our actual words we use is just like a sliver. And our intonation and voice inflection is even a greater part than the words we use. This is all going along with what we're talking about here, that it's almost like the word part of the language was never necessary. We are something greater than the language. And we can communicate. You hug somebody, you're communicating way more than the words that might come out saying it's going to be okay. The hug is saying way more than the words. The words was nothing. The words was, if anything, was a lack of understanding that the hug said it all. So we threw in words because we weren't sure. We were not confident that our hug said enough. Shoot, let me get into these comments here. Yes, I heard that Christ also can mean something along the lines of the ascending one. I feel like Christians forget what Jesus was doing. He literally was going against the grain, against cults, religions, politicians, etc. Right. I know. I perceive him as somebody that, like, if that man was here today walking around in our presence, well, If it was done in a similar fashion, he would have came from the countryside originally, because Jesus was from Nazareth. But he ended up doing his ministry, as they call it, in Jerusalem. That's a long ways away. I forget, what is it, like 60 miles away he would have had to hike? He would have been walking. But moving to Jerusalem, Jerusalem was a city. It was civilization proper. It would have had the trappings of the Roman Empire and the Greek culture that preceded it, and the Jewish culture and the other cultures of its time, because there would have been tradings going on. It was a city. So trade routes were already established between Jerusalem and other major cities. Cultures were interacting, hustle and bustle of the maybe, I don't know how many thousands of people would have been in Jerusalem. It probably would have had a population of a few thousand, I imagine, at minimum. But it was for its standard. So like how we might live out in the country, but we drive to Pittsburgh for some, this or that. Maybe we're going to go to a football game or go to a museum or something or whatever. Pittsburgh's where it's happening around here. Pittsburgh would be like our Jerusalem for our vicinity. So imagine Jesus moving from frickin', middle of nowhere, PA, town like Stallstown, Pennsylvania or something, and migrating to Pittsburgh to do his work in the streets, working with people who are destitute, healing people, ministering to people, helping people in need, seeing people for what they were and in the situations they were in, not seeing them for what they were supposed to be in judgment of them, but seeing them as like, I see that you've been married 5 times and the guy you're with now is not your husband. Like the woman at the well. Like he could see into their souls. He could see their auras. I don't know. But he'd minister to these people and he would change them. Why was he not going around telling people, hey, I'm going to die on a cross to save your sins? He didn't tell that to the woman at the well. Instead, he impacted her soul, though. He changed the way she saw her own life. And he did this with a lot of people. And he disturbed a lot of people. He called people names. He cussed people out, calling them vipers, which the term viper was not a fun term, as it would have meant back then. It would have been a shady, nasty person. He was just the rough and tumble country bumpkin that he was, profiting. Profitize. What's the word? He was a prophet, right? I can't think of the right verb, but he was a prophet in Jerusalem, and he was rubbing people the wrong way. But he was also blessing people, and it really had to do with whatever vibration these people were attuned to, because the vibration he was bringing was definitely one of disturbance. And I'm not making that up, because I could quote him. He said he came to separate people. Jesus said that. He said, I'm gonna put son against father. I'm going to put mother against daughter and this and that. I'm paraphrasing, but he was putting he was basically saying it. I'm going to have family against each other. And if he was this, kind, loving, the Son of God that they paint him out to be now in the Christian realm, that goes straight up against what he said. Jesus said he was coming to disturb. Both flip tables proverbially and literally, as he flipped over the money changers table in the temple. So, all right, let me get back to some comments here. It's just me and you. I got 3. How did I get 3 thumbs up on this video when it's just me and you? We must have some lurkers tuning in sometimes. That's all right. Man, this is totally not the normal Mr. Jeff channel talking about mushrooms. We haven't even really gotten into any mushroom discussion. Although, you didn't catch, Dean, you didn't catch the fun mushroom fact I had for you. See if you know this one. Here's your trivia. But I'll give you a chance to answer first. What do you call, what's the science term for mushrooms in the Coprinus keycap genus? What do you call the process as to how they dissolve when exposed to the ambient moisture in the air? They dissolve. Do you know what that word is? And if you don't know what they call that word, I'm going to tell you, but I'll give you a chance. And while you think about that, I'm going to go back to your comments here. All right, where were we? That's on. So, shoot, now we're getting back into who is Mr. Jeff. Man, by you saying that, you just sparked the thought in my head. You're attuned to the vibration I've been having, which is when I decided to start the Mr. Jeff journey in 2021, where I actually went public with this whole persona, the mushroom hunter persona. Part of the underlying mission behind it and going public with this is because I truly believe that there's going to come a time. It might not even be in my lifetime, but maybe I spur another person who can take the mantle and carry on what I can teach. But I do think there is going to come a time. We'll have to get back to food as God intended it, we'll say, right? As he provided it free. But it's free with a cost in the sense that you have to get back to learning your land. You got to know nature because it's not just handing it to you. That's the part of getting back to being a society of local tribal, like knowing everybody, trusting people. Because we can have generalists and specialists within a smaller community and having people who get back to understanding how, like, where the food comes from. We could literally eat for free, and yet people die every day of starvation. And 1 out of 4 children in America go to bed hungry. So what the hell do I have to worry about and complain about? I've not gone hungry. I may have missed a day, skipped a meal here or there. My choice, sure. But I'm not destitute. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I eat. I'm healthy. But that being said, I'm in the world's wealthiest country, America. And 1 out of 4 kids in this country go to bed hungry. What the hell? And I'm going to do something about that. We're bringing awareness, number one, through my platform, teaching people where free food can be found, teach people about free food in the woods. But secondly, free or near free food grown at home. Cultivate your own mushrooms. And I've shared this on my channel a couple other times. Hey, we got somebody else tuned in. You're probably wondering why it's like dang near dark here. I'll get into that in a minute, but let me finish this thought and go ahead and hit that like button. But what was I saying? Oh, I've had a mission for years now. It's more a vision, but we want to formulate this into a mission where it's actually functioning. And that is, I want to feed people through inner city projects, teaching people how to grow mushrooms using waste products, coffee grounds from Starbucks, newspapers, recycled cardboard, you name it. Cities produce paper waste and cellulose. Coffee grounds are cellulose. They may not be paper, but it's still cellulose. But you've got different forms of cellulose that's wasted by the thousands of pounds a day in some of these metropolises like Philly, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland, Toledo, Detroit. This whole Rust Belt. There's a lot of people that are hurting financially, struggling. I want to be a beacon of light and hope for feeding hungry people, not just feeding them food, but feeding their soul too. I've had a calling my whole life. I didn't know it. I didn't know why I was the way I was or what the reasons what I went through was for, but I see it now. And I believe there's something great that's going to come out of these things. Why did my phone just chirp? I don't know. Oh, I just got a text. Anyway. All right. So as I continue, what was I saying? We're talking about a vision here, a mission to feed people. I've spoke to a few other people about this idea. There's a lot of people that would love to support such an idea, but it's going to take me establishing a mushroom club, a mushroom cultivation club. Be in Johnstown. That most likely will be where it will start, but I would love to see it branch into places like Latrobe, Pittsburgh, and then we get this on the map and we get greater support and funds, and we move it to areas like Cleveland and Buffalo, Philly, Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, Toledo. This is my home. I'm from Michigan and I live in Pennsylvania. So this whole Rust Belt area, been through a lot, and there's a lot of people that need help. And if I can help people learn how to forage, I've offered now, I'd say, shoot, let me get my brightness corrected here. This thing's all goofy. There we go. I still didn't explain why I'm under the blanket here, and people don't even know where I'm at. That's okay, though. I know someone just tuned in. But anyway, what was I saying? Talking about taking this all over the Rust Belt. People are hurting for food. How much eggs cost? Shoot. But if we can get communities growing food, like let's say I start a club with somebody in Johnstown and I basically hand it over to them. Basically, I don't want to be the one running every single club. I want to be the one planting a seed and letting someone else water and grow that baby. And then I could just be a reference and a support. But have somebody else running the local scenes, and then I come and visit, and we have, Mr. Jeff comes to town, I show up to Pittsburgh, and we have a bash. We do a mushroom soup bash and feed people. But then I leave and go to another thing. And that we'll call it a ministry. But that food ministry, the mushroom ministry, will continue while I'm gone. Having, somebody who's manning or womaning the thing, controlling it, taking reins of it, and running the operation when I'm not there. Of course, with social media, we can obviously keep contact, but I don't have to babysit the thing, especially if we find local mycologists who grow mushrooms. And they're like, that would be awesome. A hub right here in my town. That would be crazy awesome. And then they're cultivating mushrooms that could be used. We could come up with two different ways. We either just all the mushrooms are free. It's all donation based, but people are eating for free. Or they grow their mushrooms and they take them to their own markets and sell them and use that money to support the project and then have free events that way. I'm not exactly sure how to play this out completely. But no doubt, this has been on my heart now for years, and it's got to happen. And every day we've gotten closer to. I can taste the umami. We're going to be growing mushrooms. and starting these mushroom clubs. And with you being south of Pittsburgh, do you grow mushrooms, Dean, or are you more just on the foraging side of things? Do you cultivate mushrooms? What's your take on that? Let me get back in the comments real quick with Dean here and see what's up. And whoever else is watching this live, welcome. I am just chatting and musing about different ideas. We've been all over the place tonight. Me and Dean have been talking the Bible. We've been talking about Jesus, talking about mushroom ministries here. Talk about a little bit of my history. We shared tips on how to survive in the cold. Talked about health and free radicals. This has been a long, all over the place discussion. I like where it's been going though. Let me get back in the comments here. And if the other person that's with us wants to leave a comment, jump in. I want to shout you out and say thank you for joining. Say we got 3 in the chat right now. Go ahead and leave a comment if you so wish. Appreciate you. Here, let me get my brightness turned up so you guys can see my face. There we go. So I'm actually urban camping, hunkered down inside my truck. My truck broke down a couple days ago, so I'm stranded. But doesn't mean I'm not without hope, and I never worry. So figured I'd go live. This would be a great chance for me to go live and do my thing with y'all. Whoops. But the brightness is hit or miss because I got to manually modulate this thing with my thumb on my phone. But way earlier tonight, I explained how I stay warm when there's no external heat sources. It has a lot to do with good insulation and taking advantage of my own body heat in the best way possible. Yeah. But I believe it's like 10 degrees out. But I got my truck as a windbreaker. And I've got blankets. Got like 3 blankets. I got my Carhartts. I got camo pants times 2. And I'm barefoot. You're probably like, what the hell is he barefoot for? He's in his damn truck. We barefoot because it actually allows my feet to stay warmer. Because I can pocket them together like one big double foot glove, a mitten for my feet. And they stay warmer that way. So where am I in the comments? It says I got 0. Y'all left me? Shoot. All right, let me keep going here, though. What do we got here? About this mission, Mr. Jeff, let me know in any way how I can help you with your mission here. For sure. I will keep you guys posted. And with you being in Allegheny County, and you also being familiar with my channel now for a while, we got to link up. We'll go on a mushroom hunt, maybe. And if you're wanting, I'll feature you on my channel because I'm really wanting to do some let's go mushroom hunting videos where I interview people, where I do one-on-one chats with folks in the woods and make that a thing, like almost like a podcast. All right, where are we at here? I see the vision here, Mr. Jeff. I'm all for this. It aligns with my soul's calling. I know you see this eventually as you're a little behind, but please feel free, leave a comment. Said hello. We just talking about all kinds of stuff. Shiitake. That's right. So do I still got you, Dean? Or is it somebody else? I know that it went to like 0 for a second, it said. Now I'm back to 1 person in the chats here, or in the live. So can you believe it's been 2 hours almost? I said I was going to keep this rolling as long as I want, as long as there's people here. Here we go. We got good brightness. All right. What were we going on about now? I kind of shared the vision, the mission. Oh, check out. I'm going to give a shout out to Miss Vicious. Mr. Jeff's in Pennsylvania, but Miss Vicious up in Michigan, up in the Detroit area. To give a slight little backdrop of who she is. I met her at MycoFest this year. She's a mushroom vendor. She has mushroom products that she cultivates and does up in Michigan. But Michigan and Detroit and Ann Arbor, I believe, 2 municipalities that decriminalized psilocybe mushrooms, your psilocybin mushrooms, we'll say. But they decriminalized it up there, and they've been doing a lot of therapeutic works up there and stuff. I don't know if you've heard of Kalindi. I'm gonna botch his name. I don't remember how to pronounce his name. Is it Kalindi I? But I don't remember. But anyway, Kalindi, shoot, you probably listened to some of his lectures. He's done, rest in peace. He passed away from COVID. But before he passed away, he was running a ministry up in Detroit. And she was a disciple of Kalindi. Miss Vicious was. Still is, I suppose, even though he's passed on. But they have a work in Detroit dealing with psychedelic therapy, you know, the whole PTSD and all that. But I don't want to lose my live. It said I was disconnected there. Anyway, he talks about doing like some mega heroic doses, 15, 30 gram, 50 gram maybe. That's 50. That's crazy. But they're talking about going to different galaxies and universes and stuff. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Miss Vicious. I'm just saying she's been in a scene that's been up there in Michigan for a little while and been a part of that. And now she's one of the big players up there. And I talked to her about my mission and vision for what I want to do. And she is on board with it up in her parts too. So like she wants to be a part of that if we get that going up in the Detroit area. So this is something that I've met different folks that love the idea. But I can't do it myself. So shoot for this summer. This summer, if we don't have our first one started by this summer, I'm not doing something right. And I think I have the backing of people that want to help with this, both financially and physically, like actually get involved. So let's shoot for this summer, having the first one, maybe Johnstown. And that doesn't mean I can't start 2 at the same time, right? I just want to say I want 1 at least. But if I got Johnstown going, create a model, franchise this thing like a cookie cutter, and have different satellites going on in different towns, and watch this thing grow. That's really what I want to see. I'd like to see like 5 of them, honestly. All right, let me read your comment again here. That would be nice. Wait, did I miss one? That would be nice. I'm growing a channel right now, mainly just fishing and some random outdoor stuff for now. But that would be cool to do a collab. Oh, you got a channel? I didn't even know. I might have to subscribe then, especially if it's outdoors. Yeah, and if you get on my channel, I'll be glad to shout you out as a fellow YouTuber saying, hey, go get on this guy's channel. This is what he's doing. And I could even show clips and stuff on mine if we did a video like that. I want to give a shout out to Philly Golden Teacher, by the way. I went on an hour-long hike with that guy. Had all kinds of good video content. And he's got a great YouTube channel. Philly Golden Teacher. PGT. Mushroom cultivation channel. But I needed to edit his video because he doesn't use his regular voice. He down pitches it quite a bit, and he didn't want to show his face on camera, so I was trying to avoid it on the camera. So I got this poor quality video footage, and I really never made a video about it. And I told him, I apologized and said, man, I want to come back out there and do it again with him. Kind of redeem the whole thing, the whole experience, and do a better video with him. So I want to get a video with Philly Golden Teacher yet. The same goes to my guys at Buff Cordyceps in Hummelstown, PA. Met them this year. No, met them. Yeah, this year. I met them this year. It was the beginning. It was back in March. Last year. I can't believe we're already in New Year. So I met them last March. But it's 2 brothers in Hummelstown. growing cordyceps mushrooms. They got a whole shop and nice setup with tents. They're doing it with, they're very sciencey, we'll say. They do put the science in their cultivation, and they are into breeding and genetics with the cordyceps. So I want to feature Pennsylvania people who are into mushrooms on my channel. And if they got YouTube channels, I will definitely be promoting them. And that goes for you too. So if you get on my channel, I'll definitely give you a chance and a platform where you get to shout out what you got going on. Anyway, where are we at here? We definitely got to get in contact for some, or for sure, maybe do a forecast kind of thing. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I remember you asked, I haven't really grown mushrooms mainly into the foraging aspect, but I'm open to learn always. Awesome. That's cool, because my channel is kind of the mushroom hodgepodge. I've got mushroom cultivation videos. My largest videos on my channel are mushroom growing videos. But my, like, the main body of work on the Mr. Jeff channel is mushroom hunting. Like, most of my videos are going to be outdoor. But this year was not much of a mushroom hunting year for me, unfortunately. Worked a lot, and I was relocated. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, Western PA. I wasn't back in my home base, back in Central PA. A series of events starting with last year led me out here, and I'm still out here. It was kind of like I was stepping out by faith to try something, and some things fell through, and I wasn't really at that. It was like so much. I don't really go back, start over, and new opportunity. And I ran with them. I'm like, let's go with these. And I don't regret, but that's why I'm literally here in my truck tonight doing what I'm doing, is because of all these courses of events that have taken place that got me here. Once again, no regrets. All right, where are we at? I'm big into fishing also, Mr. Jeff. Maybe when I visit or we link up, we can do some fishing also. Man, that's awesome. Do you fly fish? I'm guessing you fly fish if you're out here in PA with all these streams and creeks and stuff they got. I speak of my buddy Will often on my channel. So when I talk about Will, I'm talking about my buddy Will back in Central PA, but him and his family, they do a lot of fly fishing. Hey, there's another guy with a YouTube channel too that I know, a coworker of mine. I won't mention his name out loud, but I'll give a shout out of his YouTube channel, Pheasant Tales. He's local out here too, Southwest PA, but he's a fly fisherman. And I don't even know if I've gotten on his channel yet, but Pheasant Tales on YouTube. I'm big into fishing also. Oh, I just read that. Oops. Okay. So we got another lurker. Welcome aboard, whoever the second person is. I am camping inside my truck. It's like 10 degrees outside, middle of nowhere, urban Pennsylvania here. And my truck broke down. So I kind of got stranded. I'm landlocked in town here. Wish I was in the mountains, but I'm stuck. And I have to wait for this thing to thaw before I can actually do any work on it to see what I got to do to fix it. It might need a starter. It might need nothing but just thaw. I might need a new engine. I might need a new truck. Who knows? But that's the mystery at the moment. We'll find out when I get better weather, when I can actually do something with this thing. But in the meantime, I am, just to give you guys get you caught up here, I'm 4 miles from my place of employment, and I got to be to work tomorrow. So I've been stranded. Thankfully, I am walking distance from a laundromat. So this is a game plan. The truck's been frozen here for days in my body, right? So I thought, man, I could go to the laundromat, throw a bucket in the dryer, throw my clothes in there, excuse me, heat them up real quick. But the truth is, they're going to get cold on the walk to work. So my best bet is to actually just pack my work clothes in a bag, carry them, bundle myself up like a giant, looking like a giant stuffed animal or something here. Walk my butt over to work, and when I get to work, you know, if I get early enough, I can then thaw out and let my clothes warm up a bit, and then get dressed at work. They have a bathroom. They have a break room and a bath. You can always work, and then do it again. To say that I'm destitute, poor, or any kind of, you know, suffering analogy would be a mistake, because I don't consider this or anything at this point in my life as anything less than an opportunity and a teacher. So I'm very grateful and thankful for these opportunities. Heck, I built my life. This chapter of my life, I built it for this kind of stuff. And I do believe that every experience and opportunity I've had up to this point in my life has led me to be able to withstand and take care of myself in these situations. And if not, I die. And if I die, it's all good. That's all, folks. So why worry? Worry only makes it worse. Remember, worry equals worse. All right, where are we at in the comments? Dean, you are literally the only guy commenting. We've had other people dip in and out and not said anything. And where am I here? Ooh, I only fly fished a couple times. I actually got into a little Japanese style tenkara rod fly fishing, but I mainly use classic spinning reel for fishing. Okay, same as me. I used to fish years ago. I mean, back in the college days, go bass fishing. That's about it, though. Walleye fishing there in Lake Huron, there in St. Clair. But that was when I was a little kid with my stepdad. All right. But yes, maybe we can do both mushroom hunting, collab, and fishing. What we got to do is you go mushroom hunting with me, I go fishing with you on your channel. Like if you jump on my channel, on my video, we'll do the mushroom hunting, because you'll be entering my world, right? So to say, for my channel anyway. Not that mushroom ain't your world, but you get it. And then I'll be entering your world, the fishing channel, do a video with you. If that's something you're into. All right, cool. Where am I here? We can share some traffic of people. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Help each other grow, for sure. Because what I'm discovering is that a lot of these different facets of the mushroom world intertwine with other things too. Like outdoorsy stuff kind of goes hand in hand. I've got people on my channel who are... Uh-oh, it says my phone is cooling down. If my phone shuts off, I apologize. Hey, come on. All right, I had to take the phone out of the case because it is getting toasty. I wonder if it's because my brightness is way up. There, let's fix that. All right, can you see me? Maybe I turned the brightness too far down. Oh, I know. It's not going to let me do the whole... you ain't going to see my face for a while because it's not plugged in, so it's not above 50%, I think. I think that's a problem. So yeah, it's just going to be dark screen talking, maybe a little bit of reflection here and there we might capture. I don't know if I can get a reflection off anything but maybe my glasses at best. There. but the reflection just shows my phone screen. So all you're looking at is my own phone. Anyway, back to the comments. The attitude is gratitude. That's correct, sir. Honestly, it's like I'm being tested, right? This character I'm playing is being tested. I guess I'm testing myself in some form or fashion. But I put it out there that I want to have greater faith. All right, well, let's test it. The only way you're going to get better at it is by putting it through the ringer. I want to be better at my gratitude and thankfulness. All right, well, let's test it. So all these qualities that I have in myself, they didn't just show up. They were tested. They were put through the ringer to see if I was really capable of being that guy. And I encourage other people to put themselves through these tests. Ask the universe, ask God. God, I desire to be better in this area or stronger in that area. And wait for it, because it'll come. The test will come to see what you're made of. Life is but one big test. Yes, indeed. I agree. And yes, I agree. Any nature lover will definitely be curious, I'd say, about the mushroom world. So yeah, so what I'd like to do is have myself reach out and interact with other types of outdoorsy type channels, whether it's deer hunting, fishing, bird watching, people that are into collecting stones and rocks and gems. I don't care. To me, it's about that connection with nature too. Because if you're connecting with nature, you're going to be outside. And guess what? These deer hunters go outside and they see mushrooms. These rock hounds, they go outside and they find mushrooms too. We all come across mushrooms when we're out in the woods. It's just a fun little treat, little prize. So it might just be me now. Did I lose you, Dean? I might have lost Dean. And that's okay. Oh, did I start over? Dean, how long have I been without you? It says I'm down to 20 minutes on the live now. Okay, if it disconnects again, I'm going to stop. Oh, no, you are here. You're still here? It says 0. So for some reason, I thought I lost you. And for some reason, it's saying my time is down to 20 minutes again. I know we've been doing this more than 2 hours. So, all right, well, if I still got you, that's cool. Then I'll keep talking my mouth off. So what I wanted to say is about like the interconnectivity of the different disciplines, the nature disciplines, right? I'd like to have different people because it is expanding our audience across different fields too. You never know. You might get some people. I got a good friend on my channel named, and you know the name probably, Shroom Day. You've seen him maybe in my lives as a moderator. But he's a coin guy. He's in the YouTuber coin community. Now, granted, that's not outside nature per se, but I do like getting to cross over with other channels that are in different communities. Because it's not like we're all boxed into one thing that we like. Except me. It's mushrooms or bust. But I'm just playing. All right. Life is but one big test. Yes, indeed. I mean, isn't that what the mushrooms teach us? I don't know if you've experienced that. But I felt like that was a lesson I had learned. Was imagine Imagine leaving your body, having an out-of-body experience. And while the out-of-body experience, you have very little recall of it, the part you do remember, and you remember vividly, was the moments just prior to coming back into your body, where it was perceived or felt as if you were coming in behind your eyes. You were coming into your body from behind your eyes, back into your eyes, where you could now see through your eyes again. But prior to coming back behind your eyes, you were not in your body. And that whole feeling of entering your body felt like you were just peeking through goggles, like you were putting a VR headset on. You're putting the VR headset back on to experience this reality. But where were you when that headset was off? Those are the questions I had. And I had this feeling that I was just like, I can even express it right now. Imagine right now that there's an audience. There's people gathered around me right now as I'm sitting on a cosmic chair or whatever, something outside of this universe. I'm just making this part up, but like sitting on a chair with a VR headset while other people are around me, watching me. They might even be interacting with me, speaking to me. And I'm perceiving them as thoughts because I don't see them because I'm in this bubble. I'm in this reality. But this reality is purely just a construct, a simulated VR headset that I'm playing in, all as a test that while I'm in it, I forgot that I'm in it, because if I knew I was in it, then I wouldn't be able to experience it in the way that I needed to experience it. I needed to experience it through ignorance and self-discovery. And then coming to these conclusions is like, whoa, wait a minute. I actually had a moment where I could take the headset off. I interacted with everybody back home, and then I got to put the headset back on and jump right back in. And now I know. It's like, now I know, yep, this is bullshit. I mean, it's not bullshit in the sense that it's not important. It's just illusion. And this illusion that I'm in now, I can now, it's like, it's like now you know. Once you know that you're in the game or you're on a stage acting, that this is all illusion, it's Neo now realizing he can stop bullets. Okay, maybe not quite that far. But it's definitely more than just the red pill, blue pill at this point. There's a bit of understanding that we have the power to create and manipulate the reality we're in now. Once you realize that it was just Maya. Man, I better get on the comments. You're talking down here. Funny you bring this up. I've had a crazy experience that also ties into my name on here and my connection to the number 333. Organic machine D. Oh, you're speaking of this body. You're talking about the soma, the body being the organic machine, Dean, that you're operating. Number 333, I'm guessing. As if you're a mech, a soul mech. That's how I perceive it anyway. I use words like mech because these are terms that deal with like simulations and video games and stuff like that I think people can understand when I talk about this. All these are is analogies. They are not the truth. All right, where are we here? I feel comfortable sharing it, so I will share that real quick. Okay. Yeah, I ain't judging. But I'm just assuming that maybe you came to a realization or an awareness that you are not your body. I had that realization or awareness years ago, and it was terrifying at first. It was kind of freeing, but it was also like, damn, there's way more going on here. And it was like the beginning It was the red pill for me, I guess. A couple years ago at night, I had what I thought was a dream. Took me till after reflecting to realize it was a outer body experience. I was in my room, same room that I was sleeping in, and I was looking. Yeah. I never understood out of body experiences until I had my own. And having one, and then like scrambling trying to find other people to see if other folks had that same experience, watching YouTube videos and talking to people and feeling like I can't be the only one that's experienced this. I was looking out the window and everything outside the window started to spiral and instantly like snapped, and everything outside the window was black. And then all of a sudden I felt the craziest feeling. Shoot, I'm waiting in anticipation here. Because I think that the out of body experience, and maybe even coupled with the near death experiences that folks have, could also be very similar to the classical psychedelic experience or transcendental meditation experiences that people have. That these different people can have different ways of having these, but it's the having of it that'll change a person. They'll never be able to see their life the same ever again. And I was like, what the fuck? And checked the time, and it was 3:33 a.m. Oh, okay. Now, is the organic machine Dean or like the old name you had when it was excuse me, Loving Dean the God Machine? Is the machine referencing your body as a machine? Because that's the notion I get when I read your name on here. When you refer to yourself as the God Machine or as the organic machine, I'm thinking that you acknowledge the fact that you are not your body and that it is just a mech for your soul or for your spirit or whatever. Obviously, well, like we talked about earlier, language does not do us justice when we try to communicate these ideas. So we're just picking through a bin of Legos, these words we reach for, and see if this one fits. And it's okay. So I use the word mech because if you've seen like classical, like what was the old video game? There was BattleTech, Mech, Aerotech, Mech Warrior, and all these things. Like they use the word mech referring to a mechanized like robot machine that you would get inside of. But you'd be little tiny guy up in the head or the chest of this big giant robot. And that's how I feel like we operate out of these bodies through these windows, right? These eyeballs we look at to see and perceive around us dimensionally. It allows us to see spatially around us. But there's layers to the world around us, including spaces and places we can't perceive that could be extra dimensional, where we have an audience watching us. When I say an audience, like other souls, other entities, or whatever. Like, I think we come from another place, and the universe is like a headset we're wearing in this other place. And I'm using the word place in lieu of dimension because I don't know what other word to use. Just like Mario, you've played Mario before, Super Mario Brothers. You pick up the controller, you blow on the cartridge, and you pop it in the Nintendo. You push power, and you turn it on, and then Mario begins. Mario's life begins. He didn't exist prior. The code existed, but he actually doing his thing in his realm, in his universe, he just started. That was his big bang. And now he exists, and he's doing his thing. until you turn them off. But the whole time, it was you controlling him. And that's what I'm saying is like, we're controlling these bodies. These bodies are Mario in a universe that's the game Mario's in, right? But Mario is being controlled by something outside of here. We control these bodies. And everything that I'm doing here, it's not me. I'm just Mario. But the real me beyond this, he's occupying a space that's not in this universe, just like you control Mario, not by jumping in the game. You are outside of the video game. And I think we are outside of this. I think our true essence doesn't even exist here. So anybody who devotes like true devotion to this reality is going to be heartbreaking. I think that's hell. I feel like hell would be the clinging to this reality, because when this reality goes, you just lost it all. You lost the thing you clung to. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of this world. And the world passes away, and the things therein. So, yeah, let's not become too attached. You know, I talk about mushrooms like they're my love of my life, right? But the truth of the matter is, that's the persona. That's Mr. Jeff. And my persona loves mushrooms. But the true soul that's operating Mr. Jeff and his body and all this that there is here in this world, he knows that there is no attachment to be made. Because the moment I attach to this is the moment I will be suffering. Now I sound like a Buddhist. I wasn't even trying to, but I feel like that's where our hell is created, is through our attachment to this world and all of its trappings. We didn't come here to become attached to this. We came here to learn. Wait, what's this quote you wrote me here? Very interesting perspectives being shared. I really appreciate. Leads into the whole talk of our higher self. Yes, sir. Yeah, our higher self. I've used that phrase before. Now I've just, like, for some reason, it took me to right now. I was today years old when I attached higher self to the guy holding the controller playing the Mario game. That's higher self. I don't know why I never connected the two dots and used the term, because I also do believe in a higher self, and I feel like I communicate with the higher self. But why did I not just assume that to be the guy with the controller? I don't know. Sometimes it just takes processing and talking with other people to be like, man, I should have been calling it higher self this whole time. I say things like future self a lot, as if there is a future. It's really higher self. It's mostly, it's like this. It's like I can see where I want reality to go, and I will make moves and take action to get there. But that place in the space where I want to take it, take the reality to, the shift I'm trying to create, that's coming from this, what I call the future self. It's like I see myself in the future being this, doing that, having this happen and this happen. And then it's just a matter of, okay, let's go and let's make the things happen, and let's make the moves to get there, to that future self. But it's really not a future, because future's illusion. I should be saying higher self. It seems more fitting if I want to be correct in my language. Attached to nothing, connected to everything. Man, that's great. Exactly. I believe the past, the now, and the future all coexist all at the same time. I mean, let's bring it back to science. We can bring it back to science here with that one. Depending on how far away you are from something, is how long ago that thing is to you. Like on a like interstellar scale, we measure things in light years. The distance it takes light to travel to something. And so a light, you could have a light second, a light minute, a light month, a light year. A light year is good for long distances because light travels pretty far in a year. But that's all perspective because the universe being however many billions of light years across or millions of light years across, even light seems slow at that scale. That's just so how big the universe is. Man, the universe is crazy huge if light takes millions of years to travel across it. I mean, this is what they're going, this is what they're going by with their measurements. I mean, the universe could be a freaking loop. It might be never ending. You might come out one end, pop up the other side. I don't know. But about time and the future and the past and things like this, check this out. If you had the ability with a powerful enough telescope, this is all hypothetical because obviously we can't physically move faster than light to get to these places to do this experiment. But let's say the telescope already existed on a planet that's 65 million years or light years away from us. It would then be theoretically possible to see the asteroid that hit the Gulf of Mexico area there that they say may have caused the dinosaur extinction and all that jazz. First of all, dinosaurs aren't extinct. We got birds today, right? We got the living, breathing theropods going around flying now. But sorry, I had to set the phone down. Oh, there we go. Hey, how did we get light? Oh, it's reflecting off the blanket on above me. It must be because that looked like it was lighting up the screen there for a second. Anyway, telescope set up 65 million light years away would see that the asteroid event, or it could theoretically witness it, right? But if they were witnessing it from 65 million light years away, they're looking back in time. But it would be occurring live for them. I mean, even right now, I'm live streaming. In any live event, if there's any distance between the observed and the observer, it's happening in some sort of past because there's distance that the photons have to travel. The information has to travel across. Photons are packets of information, right? So if, I'm going to give it a minute here in case you do come back. What's it doing? Hey, there we go. It says I'm still rolling. Somehow I got back on, I think. But I'm going to close it off here. I want to say good night to Dean. Organic Machine Dean 333. It was a great chat, man. We talked all over the place. And I'm glad I got to share some of my thoughts with you because maybe that'll inspire some future endeavors. Can't wait. But if I don't get you back on here, we'll just do it again. How about now? Okay. I am going to close this down, but I'm waiting for it to be official, and it was trying to disconnect me when I wasn't ready. So if you're still here, Dean, I'll give you a proper good night. Otherwise, I'll just be dropping out of here with nobody. But according to this, it's still rolling. So there's a chance you might come back. And if you do, then I'll let you know. Dang, I didn't see that comment till now. I do personally speculate that the universe is an infinite fractal. And oh no, Mr. Jeff, talking about dinosaurs, you're gonna make me go down go down rabbit holes. That's all right. Shoot. Fun fact, I wanted to be a paleontologist when I grew up, when I was in kindergarten. It was my life goal. I remember learning all these big words. I was like telling my teachers in school how to pronounce some of these dinosaur names, like Diplodocus and freaking, I don't even remember now. But I could have named, in kindergarten, they had you name like 10 animals to enter as part of the entrance exam to get into kindergarten. I could have named you 10 different dinosaur species easily when I was in kindergarten, because that was my jam back then. But anyway, it looks like you're gone, Dean, because I disconnected for a while. I'm gonna get out of here too. We're gonna call this one. Have a great night, everybody. And it's a happy Thursday already, so we'll see you on the flip side of things. Till next time, peace. How do you turn this off?